Monday.
Good morning to you. It is Monday the 3rd of June. This is Kay Adams with you till 12 on BBC Radio Scotland, and the Royal College of Nursing is warning that so-called corridor care is becoming normalised, and it presents a national emergency for patient safety.
1 in 3 has told us that in a typical hospital setting that they are delivering care in an inappropriate setting. So for us, that's a national emergency and it's been normalised.
That's Colin Pullman, the Chief Executive of the Royal College of Nursing in Scotland. In your experience, how common is corridor care? Have you or a family member been on the receiving end of corridor care or witnessed it, in fact?
If you're ready for this,
say you're ready for this.
If you're ready for this,
say you're ready for this.
Are you ready for this? We're ready for this. Are you ready for this? We're ready for this. Well, we just can't miss.
Taylor Swift arrives in Scotland this week. Will we see a swift lift? And someone else heading in our direction in Auckland, slowing down just before 11.
Just keep breathing.
Will return to give us a breathing exercise to help with our hay fever.
Your mornings just got better.
This year on BBC Radio Scotland.
She arrives in Scotland this Friday. Wonder where she's staying. Do you think she's an Airbnb somewhere? I don't think so. She can't get one. Anyway, she's here for 3 nights. She's going to be at Murrayfield in Edinburgh. Much excitement. It's estimated that her Eras tour will bring a £100 million boost to the local economy. But on the other side of things, there are also claims of profiteering on accommodation, resulting in homeless people being shipped out of the city. So how pleased should we be that Taylor is coming to town? Here to discuss, Edinburgh resident Skye Mariner. Good morning, Skye.
Good morning.
Good morning. We also have singer-songwriter and Taylor Swift fan Iona Five. Morning, Iona.
Morning.
How excited are you, Iona?
I'm so excited. I've been listening to her since I was 9 years old, so this is really special.
Oh, are you excited, Skye?
As excited as a non-fan can be, I suppose.
Right, that doesn't sound very excited, Sky. Do you have concerns about Taylor coming?
I mean, as a student representative, I think for me, my biggest concerns as someone who works and lives and represents students in Edinburgh is kind of the influence that this is going to have on potentially little day-to-day aspects of what I will say non-fans' daily lives, I suppose you could say.
Right, so what kind of concerns do you have then?
Well, already we're seeing a huge increase in a lot of young people and students having to travel anywhere from 2 to 3 hours to get to their education institutions. A lot of the time people are travelling from the borders and things like that to be able to get into Edinburgh. And unfortunately, those young people and students are going to have to add an additional potentially hour, 2 hours to their transportation time. So instead of leaving at 5, they're potentially going to have to leave their homes at 4 o'clock in the morning so that they can get to college or university for 9.
But it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Still, regardless, those students might have jobs and things like that. So I think that's also important to highlight. A lot of people who work and live in the borders who potentially have to travel into the city for waitressing jobs or bartending jobs or something like that.
Oh, Iona, that's kind of poured cold water on it a wee bit, hasn't it?
A little bit, but when we look at the demographics of Taylor Swift fans, disproportionately it is younger people. I mean, I'm thinking about the associated spending here. Imagine if we had that tourist levy put in place a few years ago and we were capitalising off of these really big mega events, as you would call it. The Barclays chief behavioural analyst in Glasgow did a really great Swiftonomics study, and it was saying that the associated spending by ticket holders is more than 12 times the average cost of a night out. So people are going in, they're rejuvenating the economy. And I know that Edinburgh's a nightmare every year with a Fringe, with Underbelly taking over the high street for Hogmanay for Christmas for 3 days. This is no different. This will be our great injection, boost in the arm, what the economy's needed. It's just a shame that we didn't have that legislation in place that we could really make profit off it.
Yeah, what about the concerning headlines, Iona, about homeless people within the city being shipped out to other locations around Scotland because they had been in tourist accommodation and that tourist accommodation is obviously now in great demand, and so they are bottom of the pile?
In my opinion, we shouldn't be housing homeless people in tourist accommodation. We should have far better infrastructure, social housing. More social housing needs to be built. We shouldn't be in this situation anyway.
But we don't.
But we don't, absolutely. Well, we can't blame Taylor Swift for this. Personally, I think it is concerning that we're putting people as far as Newcastle, and of course some people have turned down those offers of accommodation. I really hope that things do go back to a little bit of normality and settle afterwards before the Fringe picks up. But this is indicative of a much wider issue that the Scottish Government need to sort out, especially with Airbnbs and second homes in Edinburgh. Like we need that fixed, and I don't think that blaming one mega event is this root sole cause of this. Yes, it's contributing to it, but I think it's a wider issue that we need to look at.
Well, we've also got with us Rachel Amery, and Sky will come back to you absolutely, but Rachel Amery is a Scottish political correspondent at the Scotsman. Morning, Rachel. I don't know whether you've got skin in the game here. Are you a Taylor Swift fan?
I am a very big Taylor Swift fan, but unfortunately I wasn't able to get tickets for the gig. I put my name down for tickets, but unfortunately by the time my name came out of the ballot, all the tickets were gone, unfortunately. Okay. So very jealous of those who do have tickets. Okay.
Well, you've declared yourself there, but putting your political head back on again. Iona described it as a mega event. I mean, how mega is this for Edinburgh and Scotland? And maybe fill us in a little bit on those headlines I was talking about homeless people being put to other parts of the country.
Yes, the homelessness issue is something that has sort of dominated the headlines in the past week. And that's because if you are declared homeless in the next couple of days, normally what would happen is the council would put you up in a hotel room. Unfortunately, they can't do that this week because there's no hotel rooms left. And the council do this on a week-by-week basis. So it's not the case they've got hotel rooms blocked off for the whole year. It literally is done as and when it needs to be done, which is why there are no rooms this week, which is why we're now having this problem. But this isn't a new problem. This is something that happens in Edinburgh during the Fringe each year, Christmas and Hogmanay celebrations, for example, and also during the Six Nations as well. So if there is a good aspect to come out of this, is that this sort of fanfare around Taylor Swift has really highlighted just how big the issue is in Edinburgh with housing and just how big of a problem homelessness is.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of generating income for the city and Scotland beyond, I mean, what kind of figures are we talking about?
Well, as you were mentioning there, it looks like it's going to be about £100 million that's going to be spent. Hotel rooms have about tripled in price in the capital, so you're looking at around £600 a night, for example.
Night?
Yes, exactly. It's a lot of money that people are having to pay for hotel rooms. But of course, there's also plenty of bars and restaurants that have got themed brunches, themed cocktails, giving away packages, for example. So everyone is really trying to capitalise on this sort of this fanfare around it. And that's because so many people will be coming, not just from all of Scotland, but the rest of the UK to come and see this gig. There's also suggestions there'll be a lot of people coming from abroad, from elsewhere in Europe to this gig as well, because it is so popular and people have maybe struggled to get tickets for elsewhere in our European tour. So people are expecting people to be flying in as well. And of course, if you're flying in, you're probably going to be spending longer, so more hotel room nights. You've not got your own kitchen to cook your dinner in, so you're going to be going out for dinner a bit more as well. So people making a little holiday out of this too. So the potential for money getting exchanged in the city this weekend could be insane.
I mean, do you take Skye's point then that, you know, this can potentially be very disruptive for people who are living in Edinburgh, or as Skye says, lots of students who would like to live in Edinburgh but they actually can't afford to live in Edinburgh, but they're having to travel in. Everything becomes more stretched, everything becomes more expensive, and actually I suppose it's an issue that we're seeing crop up in various parts of the world, of people who live in a particular area which is very popular, and obviously Edinburgh's always popular, but it's been heightened by Taylor Swift, you know, feeling that they are being sacrificed on the altar of tourism and mega events.
Yes, public transport over the weekend could be quite difficult. I get the train into work in Edinburgh in the mornings, and already those trains are packed full to the point where some stations the train doesn't even stop because there can't be any more people sitting into the carriage. So yes, I can imagine public transport is going to become a bit more difficult this weekend, for example. There are several road closures as well around Murrayfield. That list of road closures is on Edinburgh Council's website if anyone wants to have a look at that. But this is, again, is something that we see every year during the Fringe. We see that sort of strain on public transport happening. So there are some extra trams being put on over the weekend, some late night services from Edinburgh Trams, and I think they're doing a special ticket offer as well. So there are some sort of provisions being put in place, but yes, it will be quite difficult, I think, if you're trying to navigate around the city as a resident or as somebody who works there.
I mean, Skye, you know, for 3 days, I mean, and, you know, as Rachel and Iona have said, because Edinburgh's such a popular place, we've got the Fringe and various other events, you know, it happened. Have you just got to take the rough with the smooth, basically?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I just want to echo everything that everyone else has already said. I think there was a really brilliant point made, I can't remember which one, that I think this is really beautiful that it's highlighted so much of these issues. And again, they are much wider systematic issues. And I think for 3 days, I think Edinburgh is pretty used to, you know, sacrificing public transport and maybe adding a little bit of extra travel time. Don't think that's the issue, but I'm glad that at least it has sparked conversations around important systematic topics.
Yeah, well, no, and these are important topics to, you know, to discuss. But let's just have a tiny couple of minutes here to talk about Swiftmania. Iona, you say you've been a fan since what you were, did you say 7, 9?
About 9 years old is when I remember Love Story coming out and I heard it for the first time. People are actually coming from all over the world from this, not just from Europe. I'm part of a Swiftie group on Facebook. There's people flying in from Texas because the consumer laws on Ticketmaster in this country is really different from in America. Dynamic pricing that the Musicians Union have called out, that isn't happening so much here. So we're seeing people flying in from all over the world. Not good for emissions, good for our economy, 100%. I've never seen, I work in Kansas City sometimes as a director of a music organisation station out there. And of course, that's where Travis Kelce is based. You go into shops there and there's literally plates, ceramic plates with Taylor and Travis kissing on them. There's candles with Taylor, like
They're
the
like the
ones
new
you see
royal
of the
family.
Pope. Literally, I've never seen this before in my life. It is overwhelmingly mental, but it's a mania. It's like Beatlemania. It's like Taylor mania. She's broken every Billboard chart record that's ever been made, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, this might sound like an insulting question to somebody who's clearly as much of a fan as you are, but what is the big deal about Taylor Swift?
I think this idea of this Eras tour that she's put on is that she's an artist that can move from genre to genre, appeal to fans of a multi-generational background. There's fans that grew up listening to her, that are having their own kids, that are taking them to the Eras tour. I think it's this idea of her being a musical chameleon, being able to step into different forms, genres, writing in different prose settings. If you listen to Evermore or Folklore, it's really different to, for example, the Red album. And of course, we've been seeing her re-release her albums. This is the first artist to ever do this after her masters were sold out from underneath her. When a song is made, you'll know that, well, most people don't know that actually there's two royalties generated. There's the intellectual property, which a lot of artists are really, they want to hold on to that nowadays. But there's also the recording masters, which were sold out from her.
Yeah.
So she has re-released all of her music because she still owns the IP, which means that new fans are sometimes hearing some of her songs for the first time. So it's almost as like she's doing a whole loop on her career once again. And this Eras tour is, I don't think any artist has done this, where they've pretty much done repertoire from every single album. And of course, she's released a new album in the time the Eras tour's been going on. Most musicians, if they're on a world tour, they're not recording, they're not releasing, they're focusing on that tour. But she's unstoppable. She's putting new choreography into the show. So people that saw this in cinema last year, they're away to see a complete other new show.
Right.
It is genius. And I'm actually releasing Scott's language version of Love Story this week to coincide with it.
Yeah.
We've recorded that back in 2021 and decided that this was the week that it would come out. Okay. So yeah, she's iconic.
Yeah, she's incredible. Tell me you've got tickets.
I do.
Thank
Yeah,
goodness.
and I had a pre-sale code. If you actually, the reason I got tickets very easily is because I bought one of her albums in 2022, which allowed fans to basically get this code that when the time came, you could get them. So many fans saying, "Oh, I wasn't able to get it." If you had this code, you would have been able to get it. But that's she rewards people for doing that.
See, Rachel, Scottish political correspondent, The Scotsman, you missed that one.
I did, yes.
You'll know the next time. Well, listen, Iona, enjoy it. And Sky, I hope it's not too disruptive. And Rachel, thank you very much for joining us this morning. For everyone else there, residents of Edinburgh and the surrounding area, are you excited about Taylor Swift coming to town or not? You can text us on 80295.
Celebrity Love Island, what's a wicked show? Get lots of famous people on that none of us really know. Some bird who had a footballer, some fella from the jungle. If they want real celebrities, get Zippy, George and Bungle. The Chris Moyle Show.
It is 10:26 coming up very shortly. Where's Taylor Swift there? We are going to have an homage to Taylor Swift's arrival in Scotland across mornings and the afternoon show this week. We're going to be Swifty a go-go. We're going to be playing songs from Taylor Swift every day. We're going to be moving through our albums.
Turn it down, you say.
officially a Swiftie. I'm converted. I had an experience during that track. It was an epiphany. It was absolutely marvellous. I'm on board. Simon Calder, travel expert. Are you a Swiftie?
My family, comprising wife plus 2 daughters, most certainly are, and they have spent a phenomenal amount of money, £200 each on tickets for one of the London gigs. I also know people in London who are heading for Scotland because they couldn't get tickets in London, so that will at least bring some economic benefit to the Scottish economy.
The ticket, my ticket, Simon.
I know. I'm sorry, but no. Some of us regard perhaps music from earlier eras, if I might use that term, as perhaps in some way, I wouldn't dream of saying superior, but differently
careful,
entertaining.
Simon, careful.
Differently
Come on
entertaining.
then.
There we are.
Come on, fill us in on your musical taste.
right.
We're always talking travel. Come on. You're not a Swiftie. What are you? Are you a headbanger?
When I was 14, my parents, for some reason which I will never understand, said, yes, of course you can go to the Isle of Wight Pop Festival. So they had Jimi Hendrix, they had The Who, they had pretty much everybody apart from the Stones and the Beatles, who just split up at this gig. The Doors, for example, anybody who was anybody
proper
was there.
Proper music, Simon, proper music.
And I thought that was going to be like that till the end of time, and very sadly, within a month, poor Jimi Hendrix had died. But no, I feel very, very fortunate for that. So now I'm very much into my music, but Taylor doesn't quite do it for me. However, I take my hat off to her, persuading the world that she is wonderful, and I am very, very much hoping that everybody who goes to see one of her gigs, including my family, have the most brilliant and memorable of nights. But all I will say is the Isle of Wight Pop Festival costs £3.10 to get into.
Oh my goodness! You pulled that back beautifully, Simon. Can I just say your diplomatic skills are just par excellence. Well, listen, we're not going to talk music with Simon, of course. We're going to be talking travel. Anything at all that you want to ask Simon Calder, our travel expert, about, he is more than happy to help. We are on the cusp of the summer season, I suppose, but also increasingly in recent times, Simon, also you can help people out perhaps with problems that they've had. So 08085 92 95 00. You can text 80295. Anything at all. It's a really busy time for travel. As I say, we're on the cusp of the summer season, and of course we have the school holidays coming up more quickly than they are in England, Simon. Mallorca is a very popular destination with Scots. It's easily accessible from Scotland, Scottish airports. And we're continually seeing now on the news outlets about the locals don't want us, protests, etc. Should people be put off by this?
Well, we saw most recently on Saturday a big demonstration by lots of locals who basically want there to be a kind of rebalancing of tourism. At the moment, of course, Scots are among the, 18 million people who go to the Balearic Islands every year. The large majority of those will end up in Mallorca. It is a wonderful island. I've been going there for many years, but they are cheesed off, trying to find space on the beach themselves, trying to drive around at a time when there's so many rental cars on the road. And of course, appalling behaviour by, I have to say, British in the widest sense, and indeed some German and Scandinavian people who get drunk and behave very badly. And of course, every community deserves to be able to have a say in how it is touristed, how it is visited, and I would include in that, for instance, some places in the north of Scotland on the North Coast 500, which isn't universally loved because of what it does in terms of attracting lots of people in their motorhomes. So definitely we're in kind of rebalancing mood, but the idea that you are not going to be welcome as long as you are behaving respectfully and sensibly, I think is it should not be taken away from that. You are going to have a fantastic time. Of course, you've got Venice saying €5 to get in on busy days, but that's exactly the sort of nudge that I'm all in favour of.
Yeah.
You've
It
got-
is
you've got
interesting,
lots-
Simon. I mean, maybe we probably don't have time today, but maybe on another day we should have a kind of broader conversation about whether or not there is some kind of global backlash on tourism and travelling, because so many people cite, travel as one of the sort of main joys of their life. But as you say, Venice, Mallorca, Edinburgh, just been talking about Taylor Swift and people saying, well, God, it just makes it difficult for us living here. And of course, we've got the Fringe and the festival coming up. And across the world, there are these popular
Yes.
destinations that are saying, enough already. But anyway, let's not put a damper on things, because you're here to answer people's questions. We will have that conversation another day if you're up for it, Simon.
I think it'd be great.
Yeah.
And of course, but most places are really welcoming. And of course, Munich, I was there very recently, absolutely limbering up to welcome the Scots
Yes,
on
I
the
know.
14th of June. And just a message from Edinburgh Airport, of course, the nation's leading airport. Please, if you're wearing a kilt, detach your sporran before going through security.
All right, I wondered what you were going to ask them to detach there. That could have been quite something, Simon. They won't be so chirpy when we beat them 4-1, of course, but there you go.
Exactly, yeah.
We'll let them smile till then. Simon, thank you very much indeed. 08085 92 95 00. The lines are open now to speak to Simon Calder, our travel expert. 80295 is the text number. Mary is in Murrayfield. She says, Swifties concert ticks all the boxes for me. I'm a Murrayfield resident and will enjoy the area being livened up. The place is as dead as a dodo, so roll on the concert. Well, don't worry, you've got Matt Ford coming in August. We're going to speak to him in a second. And somebody else saying, from the money being spent on Taylor Swift, people must be having a better cost of living crisis than me. Yeah, I think like 200 quid is entry-level tickets and people are spending scary amounts. But anyway, tell us if you're excited about Taylor coming to Edinburgh. Get your questions in for Simon. And we're going to speak to Matt Ford in a tick.
Who in the blue hell are you?
Mornings on BBC Radio Scotland.
Matt is a Fringe favourite, but after last year's successful run, he announced that he'd been diagnosed with cancer and would be taking some time off. Not that much time. He is back in business with a pledge to interview all 650 election candidates before July the 4th. He is a man who enjoys suffering, I think. Good morning to you, Matt.
Good morning, Kate. And before we start, it is an honour to be on this show because at last year's festival, during the day, I would listen to Radio Scotland and your show, and it is absolutely the best radio in the UK. I became such a mega fan. No, but seriously, I think I tweeted about it a couple of times. I was like, I'm going to have to stop putting this on social media because people think I'm just like sucking up to you all. But it's absolutely brilliant. So what a privilege to be here.
Well, thank you so much. And you know you're going to be clipped up on Instagram before you have drawn breath, Matt.
I should say Absolute Radio as well is also very good, including the show.
No, we're cutting that bit off.
Fake news.
Oh, well. No, so listen, what a year you have had, Matt. So great run at Edinburgh Festival, Fringe, sorry, get it right, last year. And you're a regular at the Fringe, you know, an absolute staple, and usually always sold out. And then when did you get this news, which must have just stopped the clock for you?
Yeah, it was. So last festival, as well as being in my accommodation listening to Radio Scotland, I got terrible sciatica in my left buttock and leg. And at first I thought I pulled a muscle, and then the nerve pain was so bad that I couldn't sit down or lie down. And I managed to get an appointment with a doctor, and as well as giving me codeine and diazepam, which really helped me have a great festival last year, he said, get an MRI because you've probably just slipped a disc or something. And then after the festival had finished, I went to see him again, and he just said, I'm very sorry, it's a tumour on the base of your spine, it's a chordoma, it's a very rare form of cancer. So that was a bit of a shock. And then I live in London. Once I was back here, I was very quickly under the care of the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital, of which I'm now a patron of the charity, the RNOH charity, which does phenomenal work. And they, mid-October, opened me up, removed the base of my spine. I was in hospital for 10 weeks and then discharged just before Christmas. And now that I'm home, I'm learning to walk again. And thankfully, I'm now strong enough to be back on stage.
I mean, a shock. That single word there, Matt, to describe it. Do you kind of naturally? I mean, while we're having a bit of a love-in here, I follow you on Twitter/X, and you have been the most remarkably stoic throughout this journey. I mean, you put posts up. I mean, there's one that really struck me here, and I've actually copied it out. This will sound mad. This was you speaking. I think this was quite recently, though, Matt, wasn't it? This will sound mad, but having cancer and having it removed, along with part of my spine, has been the most wonderful experience of my life. I've met the most exceptional people who have given me the privilege of living longer. Now, I know it's a good thing to positively reframe things in life, but my goodness, that's an exceptional example. Is that your coping mechanism?
Do you know what? I didn't see it as reframing at all. It was just absolutely my natural reaction, because when you're in a situation where you're being told that you've got cancer, and then before you have a biopsy, they're telling you it may be a secondary tumour, it may have metastasised. I don't know enough. I didn't then know much about cancer beyond the your average armchair listener, but I knew that metastasised was bad news. So I was trying to quickly come to terms with not having very long left. When you then find out what it is, and that it was slow growing, and that within the context of bad news, actually, I had a lot of good luck, that I'd caught it early, that despite having the base of my spine removed, I'd still be able to eventually walk. I just thought all this was remarkable. And the individuals that cared for me, that operated on me, that nursed me, my friends and family who were at my bedside throughout the whole thing, my amazing wife. I mean, how could I not emerge from that thinking, all of the things being equal, that I've got much longer left than I feared I might, and having experienced the love and the dedication of so many people. And do you know what I think as well is, I had this amazing moment where it wasn't even a choice. My body was almost talking to me and just said, remove whatever you need to remove to stay alive. And in a way, it's made me more